Hi there, everybody. Like Becca mentioned, my name is Lucas Woody, and I'm the founder of Coaching Better Consulting. So today we're going to talk about repurposing your purpose and accepting chaos and creating order into your life, especially as we go through some of these issues that we're currently struggling with. I want to make sure that I'm helping people to find their purpose and lean more into it as we struggle through this chaos and how to create order within it. So let's get started. Most people start with who is Coach Woody. I'm going to start with why is Coach Woody. If you know me, you kind of know why that's the case. My purpose in life is to help others find and define their purpose so that together they can create processes towards a better future, and we can do so together. And so in the beginning of my career, I did this through my company, Human Movement. And so I was helping people with their physical aspect, and I still am to this day. But as I grew and I started to learn my own purpose, I started to realize that I didn't want to just be pigeonholed into only fitness. I feel like I have a gift of helping people figure out what it is they want to do with their life, or at least how to do it to the best of their abilities as they start to learn more about themselves. And then how to start to lean into that with processes, with systems, with procedures. And I do that with individuals as well as with teams and with businesses through Coaching Better. So that's why I am. So we're going to get started with our first poll of the day, which is why you are here. We appreciate that. So we can get rid of that poll and we can move forward with our rest of our presentation here. So Becca, if you wouldn't mind pulling that away, and we will continue moving forward.
I actually.
Oh, do I need to do that? No problem at all. Give me just one moment here. I'm going to exit out of this real quick. There we go. Perfect. So the outcome for today. So what I hope you guys get from this. First is to understand what order and chaos look like and why we need both. We typically lean into order a little bit as a desire of ours, but chaos is actually can be very helpful if we use it effectively and if it's not too much. So we'll talk about that. We're going to learn a process to create your own order in the midst of a surging chaos, typically like what we have seen here recently. We're going to start a creative process to help you find innovative ways to serve your clients. And we're just going to start that. That's actually in Coaching Better. That's one of the things that I help a lot of companies and individuals to do. So we'll start that creative process, and always something that we can continue further if you guys are interested. And then again, questions, guys. So as things come up, please feel free to use that Q&A portion. All right, we got one more poll that we're going to pull up here. This will be our second of three. Love being interactive. So if you would, please pull that up. So first question is, are you uncertain of your future? And the second question we have there are you feeling like things are shifting back to normal, whatever normal looks like for you in this situation pre-COVID? That third question being, do you feel the virus has changed the foundation of the way you do business? And then the last one, do you think that change was good or bad? All right, we got quite a few votes. Both. Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm just going to share these with you guys so that you can see what that looks like. So are you uncertain? Maybe is the result there. Are you feeling like things are getting back to normal? Sort of. Do you feel that the virus has changed the foundation of the way you do business? A big one there, absolutely. Yes, 69%. And was the change good or bad? Both. So we're on the fence about a lot of this stuff, which I really appreciate, because it shows that everybody is seeing both good and bad options here. So we're gonna get back to the presentation, but thank you guys for sharing that. So I want you guys to take a look at this picture, and I want you to use the chat option here to share some of your thoughts here. But as you look at this picture, I'm guessing some of us have seen this before, maybe in our own houses, I don't know. This is actually my house, so feel free to critique as you wish. But as you look at this, which way do we lean? Order? Do we lean to chaos? Obviously, there's some chaotic aspects of it. So what seems chaotic about this picture? And I do want to see some answers, so please feel free to chat, throw it out in the chat. I want to see what your mind thinks of when it thinks chaos. What aspects of this? Lack of stacking by size, absolutely. So many systems. Messy, hard to find things. Yes. Hard to find matches, mismatched sets. Definitely not matched, absolutely. Lids and bowls, separated but not stacked. Things that don't fit, yes. Absolutely, guys, perfect. So there's a lot of chaos in terms of this. Very time consuming, I love that. Love on the right side, there's an attempt to organize that didn't always follow through. Absolutely, everything falls out, inefficient stacking. Absolutely, guys. Very quickly, you can start to see, and what I love about this is that in the chaos, in the answer to the chaos, you also mentioned that efficiency is one of the goals here with this Tupperware cabinet, correct? That's the goal, is to be efficient, to be able to get things very quickly and to be able to put them together, right? That's the goal of most Tupperware cabinets, for sure. What do we find orderly here? Because even though there is some disorder, what is some order that we see here? It's all Tupperware, correct, Lindsay? Yes. What other things do we see? All in one location, perfect. The organization system in the top right, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. The doors can shut. Yeah, absolutely. Out of sight, can't see it. Beautiful. Very true, right? So we have some order within this chaos, right? One of the things I want us to recognize or to realize here is that until we understand the purpose of this cabinet, we're not going to quite understand whether or not it is orderly or chaotic, right? So some of you guys spoke to the fact that the purpose of this cabinet is to quickly and efficiently find Tupperware, correct? And I would say that for most people, that's the purpose of this cabinet. However, in our home, that is not quite the purpose of this cabinet. In our home, the purpose of this cabinet is entertainment. And so if we were to spend copious amounts of time to organize this in a systematic fashion, only for our wonderful, loving toddler to go in there and rip everything back out, then that would be a waste of our time. So the inefficiencies that we have of looking for the lids and the bottoms to those lids are actually not as inefficient as if we were to spend more time organizing it. And the fact that we do find order in the fact that every lid is in there and every bottom is in there somewhere, and that is enough for our home at the time, allows us the opportunity to understand the purpose of how much time we need to put in there. And so that's kind of the goal today, guys, as we look through this between order and chaos, is to better understand how do we see the purpose for what it really is so that we can understand how much time, energy, and effort to devote to one particular thing or the other, or how to shift when we need to accordingly, right? So we're going to talk first here about what order and chaos actually are. So you'll see on the left a column that talks about what order is considered, right? And there's a lot of different ways that we can define order and chaos. And so this isn't an exhaustive list, but something to start to comprehend a little bit more. So we have logic underneath order. We have comprehension, things that are orderly. We have structure and harmony. We have society. And I know a lot of people right now are thinking society is not that orderly, but I want you to think about something, comprehend something. If you're driving along and you reach a stoplight and the stoplight is red, you stop. And the people that are going across the other way understand that you need to stop there, and so they're comfortable going through. What if you didn't know that the people coming across we're going to stop or not? that chaotic idea makes it really, really stressful to come up to a green light. You may even end up having to stop anyways. And so even though there may be some turmoil right now in society, there's still a lot of structure in place. So just kind of thinking of that. But what it boils down to is logic and order specifically is known, the things that we know. Chaos, on the other hand, are things that are random, unpredictable. They're chance, they're formless, there's a mixture to them perhaps, or it's dynamic. It really boils down to being unknown. Now I want you to realize that the word bad is not in there. The word unruly is not in there, because chaos just in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but those are the two things that we're kind of getting our minds wrapped around here. And as you can imagine, order and chaos are somewhat of a continuum. It's not you are one or the other. There has to be a kind of a blend of both. Maybe you tend to lean more into order because you can appreciate order a little bit more, or you lean more into chaos because you just enjoy randomness or unpredictability. But there is a continuum here, and we're going to talk about what happens when we get too far one way or the other in this continuum. When you have order, you start off by having logic, right? It's just, there's some logic to it. We have some routine or some procedures. There's a system in place that kind of keeps things orderly and in a box. When you go too far towards that orderly, we start to see that we have a lot of policies, we have a lot of systems, we have rules, we have structure, we have rigidity, and it gets to a point where it may be just a little bit too much. And when that happens, what we have is Groundhog's Day, right? If you've seen this one before, hopefully you have. The same day over and over and over. So much structure, so much rule, so much routine that there's no change. There's no room for growth. There's no vacations to Disneyland, right? What kind of life is that? On a personal level, that is such a rigid way to live that there's no room for growth and opportunity there. And as a society, as you see by the bottom picture, when you have too much structure, we have a little bit too much rule, too much rigidity, and that doesn't play off well for people either. Now, on the other hand, when you get too much into chaos, you start to see issues happen as well. So you start off by being creative, by having art, by being abstract, by coming up with new solutions to novel problems. But as you get more and more chaotic, we start to become unknown and unwieldy and unruly. And when that happens, we have people making decisions like this. Or we have unruly society. There's no structure, there's no rules, there's no sort of routine or procedures or policies, and so everything's just a little bit blah, right? And so when we're talking about these things, it's not so much that one is good and one is bad, it's a matter of when we go too far one way or the other, right? When you are dedicated to your profession, that's not necessarily bad. When you avoid going home to your family because of your work, maybe it starts to get a little bit into the bad, right? But if you don't care at all, you're too apathetic, right? Then you start to see a little bit of laziness. And so it's trying to find this balance in this medium, trying to find somewhere in the middle. So we have our last poll here, and Becca's going to pull that up, and it's going to ask you a question kind of on a personal level and then on a professional level. So early in this shutdown, did you purchase items or a quantity of items that you normally would not have purchased? And then have you or your business had to create creative solutions to continue serving your clients? All right, we got about 30 out of 30, so we can go ahead and end that. Beautiful. So we can actually add one more yes, because I'm one of the guys that went out and bought maybe just a little bit more than I normally would have, right? And you couldn't quite figure out what the answer was, why you were doing it. You just kind of saw that other people were doing it. There's some unknowns coming up, and so maybe you wanted something to make yourself feel a little bit more comfortable, right? And then we have, has your business had to created? Yes, a lot of people. And if you haven't, it was probably because you're in a field that actually grew from the opportunities you have. Or if unfortunately some businesses that just had to close down as a result. So, thank you guys so much for participating. That was great. So remember that chaos and order in and of themselves are not bad. It's when we lean one way or the other. And here recently, we've leaned really hard into chaos. It was a little bit unknown for sure. It was drastic. It was quick. It was dynamic. We didn't know what was going on or how to handle it. We were unknown in the way that we could control it. It's a virus. We can't see it. What do we do about it? And so that pushed us into this chaotic and away from the order, which is more comfortable for us. Now, what do we do when chaos surges? And we're going to talk a little bit about how to start to move forward here in a moment. But what do we do when that chaos surges? And guys, something will happen again to change in your lives, right? We saw this back when the Spanish flu hit in 1918s. We saw this when the internet hit, right? Like sometimes it's not even a virus. It's things that we've asked for. When the internet hit, so many companies were in an unknown, and a lot of companies closed down because they just couldn't handle that switch. So what do we do when the chaos surges? The first thing we can do is lean into the known. Okay? This doesn't mean stopping progress. It just means that when things get chaotic, what can we start to do to make them more orderly? So one of the first things a lot of us did, and I think we're trying to continue to do, is reach out to family, to think about our loved ones, to focus on our home. I mean, there's a reason Lowe's and Menards are so packed right now, right? Leaning into our emotional security. These are all things that we can do to continue to lean back into that orderly side of things. So can you find processes that you enjoy, activities that you enjoy to do, sewing or crocheting, doing puzzle, playing games with family members? What are the things that haven't necessarily been thrown away or could continue to be the same? So that's something that we can start to do. One of the processes that I implore people is to reflect on what has not changed. Here recently, one of my clients that I was speaking with in a session spoke about how they lost their motivation, how they are upset because they can't go to the places they used to go to, and the things that they used to enjoy are different now, and all of these things that had changed. And so I asked them, have you thought about making a list of what has not changed? And they actually didn't understand my question. They were so adamant and so focused and so narrow visioned on what had changed that they were incapable of focusing on what things had stayed the same. And so I implore people, when they're going through change, to really focus in on what has not changed. It's a very powerful tool that allows us the opportunity to open our minds to what has not changed, because you may find that there is a much larger list of things that have stayed the same than what has changed through that. So that's a great process for us. And in fact, what we're going to do now is we're going to go through that process just a little bit. So I want you guys to find something, and this doesn't have to be in the chat. I want this to be separate for yourself that you can keep if you want to, or at least do on your own, whether it's typing or writing down. I'm a journaler myself. And I want you guys to consider the following questions and then to kind of just shorthand write down some notes. So get ready to write. I'm going to give you just another 15, 20 seconds to get something down. Rachel has a lot of canned beans now. You and me both, sister. Canned foods for some reason. But it did make me realize that, even if we had a snowstorm for a couple weeks, I probably wouldn't have been able to manage because our pantry was empty until then. We loved whole foods, so it didn't work very well. All right, guys, so the first thing is I want you to write down, who do you care for most? Your family members, and you can shorthand mom, dad, family, certain friends. I would like you to get down some specific names because that makes it more real, right? It's very easy to write down the generic family. But who do you care for most? What people in your life are here that you couldn't live without? What's your favorite food or movie or activity? What are the things that you love to do? And again, this is all for your personal side. We're going to hit the professional side here in a moment. What things just speak to your heart or just make you excited? That's a good one, Kathy. So jot these down, guys. Type them out. Make a note. The next one, before the chaos, what was the one thing that you loved to do? What's that one thing that if you had 24 hours or 48 hours, a weekend, we're not talking about vacations, we're not talking about long-term things, but just that one thing that you really enjoyed to do. If you had a whole day and nothing to do and all day to get it done, what would you have done? Is it something in the yard? Is it playing golf with a friend? Is it doing some sort of board game or activity? Is it playing games all day? What is it that you really, what's that one thing that you just love to your heart to do? It should have came to you pretty much as soon as you started to think about it. Go with that thing. The gut always knows. How did it make you feel? Okay. And I want us to get rid of the word good for now. And I want us to really think about some specific ways that it made you feel. Okay. Did it make you feel energized? Did it make you feel reinvigorated? Like, man, the world has just been beating me up and now I feel so much more excited about what I'm about to do. Did it calm you down? Did it lift you up? Did it allow you the opportunity to think creatively? Did it help you express a side of you that you don't normally get to do in your job? What did it do and how did it make you feel? To build on that, what about that activity specifically made you feel that way? Was it because you were doing it with your best friend? Was it because it slowed you down and made you get out of your head for a moment? It took you away from work. It put you in a place with your family and your loved ones. What about that activity specifically made you feel that way? Did you love to be outside and it just gave you that opportunity to do so? Was it a long drive from here to there and therefore you didn't have to focus on anything because all you had to do was drive? What about it? And then finally, in what ways can you experience that same feeling in this new future, whether things get back to normal or not? What's another way, or maybe the same way that you just haven't taken the opportunity to do? What is a way that you can experience that same feeling in this new future? Maybe there's a new way to get out of your head and away from work for a little while. Maybe there's an innovative way that you can still play board games with your family and loved ones, maybe online or virtually. Maybe starting a puzzle is actually a way that you can shut off your brain, whereas it used to be some other activity. I did a puzzle yesterday. That's why I'm hooked on puzzles. It's a wonderful task. So what experiences can you do now to help you to feel that same feeling in this new future? So as you guys may have recognized here, the process here is that we think about what is it that we still have, whether that's a resource, that's a person, that's a thing. What is it that we wanted from our past that maybe has changed? And what new ways, what innovative ways can we get to the main source of why we wanted it in the first place? Maybe it wasn't actually the food that we cared about, but the time that we spent with people. Maybe it was reliving our childhood memories. Whatever it happens to be, the act of learning and remembering what you still have and finding new and innovative ways to fill that gap that we've had and that desire that we've had. So now what we're going to do is work on the professional side. So similar process, keep that writing stuff out. I have a few questions here that I want you to answer. In your professional life, whether that's you individually or your business, what processes have stayed the same? I'm still responsible for X. I still have the ability to do Y. What processes stayed the same? Not necessarily the resources, but just the things that you do. What didn't change? I still have weekly meetings. That didn't change. The way that you have them in sweatpants instead of professional pants has changed just a little bit, but the process itself has stayed the same. What resources do you still have that you had before? And by resources, this can be a lot of things, guys. So I really want you to think about this in a broad sense. And obviously, we're not going to get exhaustive here with the list, but our personnel can still be very high, whether they're changing their roles or not. But the personnel that you work with, the technology that you have available to you, the things that technology brings to you. Maybe you used to do advertising and marketing individually with a person one-on-one, and now you have to go to a more online-based connection with them. But what resources do we still have available to us? What materials, what items do we have? Space, what kind of environment do we have for us? And then I want you to focus on who are your best clients. And why I say best is because there's no doubt that who you serve may change when things change in a chaotic situation. So yes, there may be the 20% of people that you were serving, but for some reason it just wasn't the right fit. It just happened to work in the moment. And now that things are changing, maybe they're realizing that you're not the best for them, or you're realizing that the energy and the effort that you put into them may be a little bit unsuited for this new future. So when we say best, we're talking about the people who get it. You enjoy working with them, they're excited to work with you, and that's just how it works. Your best clients, the people that continue to buy from you, the people that continue to elicit your services. How did your clients feel when they were served by you before the chaos? And that's a very important question, guys. Sometimes people cannot answer. And if you cannot answer how your clients feel when they're being served by you, whether that's buying your products or entering your store, that's something that you need to work on. That's something that we need to ask ourselves day in and day out, and really kind of get in tune with, because you need to know how they feel when they walk in your store, or they buy your product, or they visit your website. How did they feel before? What part of your services feel the same to your clients? What is it that you're still doing that they still get that same feeling, that feeling that they have somebody on their side, that when they hand you their computer, that you are going to take care of them no matter what? When they ask for you to create a new logo, that you're capable of continuing to bring that to light, right? When they're worried about their future and where they're playing in all of this, they still feel as though you are doing everything it takes to help them with their livelihood. So what parts are still the same for that? Or what feels the same? And then what resources and procedures do you still have that could allow you to continue serving your clients in this way? So maybe you no longer can do in-person services, but what do you have that allows them to get that same feeling from the services that you've provided for them for so long? What does allow them to continue to use you the way that you have been able to serve them in the past, right? Because the services and the products may change, but the reason why they use you to begin with shouldn't have to. And so what is it that you still have the capacity to lean into to give them that same level of service, that same feeling? Right? So guys, that's just a start of a process to start to think about an innovative way to adjust what you have been doing to this new role that you may be finding yourselves in, whether that's personal or that's professional, whether you are an individual on their own entrepreneur, or you are a person within a larger team, within a larger corporation. What is it that I can start to do to lean into the resources I still have, or maybe even to start to learn new resources based off of what my clients need from me and what has served them in the past and what will continue to serve them. And so that is something that I do on a regular basis with Coaching Better, with my clients individually and as teams, is to try to help them better understand their purpose. What is it that I'm actually trying to do for my clients? Why do I do what I do? And then what are the processes to get there? And I wanted to speak just for a moment here on why that even matters. Why does why matter? So two companies that I've been feeling a lot lately just because of the things that have been going on. One actually is from the recent COVID issue, and then the other one's actually from the internet boom, the .com boom. So the first one is hair salons. If you guys don't know, which I try to keep it short, but I'm starting to feel a little shaggy. I'm sure some people out there are starting to feel a little bit shaggy right now. Hair salons are getting hit pretty hard, right? If hair salons, before all this, focused on what they did, here's what they may say as an attempt to get you to buy what they want. Or what they have. What? We provide hair service, nail service, and products by the best stylists in town. And it's amazing that every salon has the best stylists in town. It's crazy. So how do we, in this new environment, continue to serve our clients? It's challenging, to say the least, right? Especially when all we focus on is the best stylists and the best hair services, right? If we were to shift that mindset to why, and I want to hear some thoughts on this, so feel free to answer in the chat box if you have any things come to the top of your head. We have some new, we have some innovative people out there. So Kitty mentioned can still provide products and advice. Absolutely, Kitty. And to that point, let's share the why. We bring confidence to the look of every woman we serve so that they can confidently rule their day. Well, heck yeah. And if we use that why, if we lean into that, how do they do that? With hair services and nail services, making them feel and look confident, right? But now in this new landscape, can I lean into that? Can I maybe start to adapt what I do and how I do it to live into the same why? What are your guys' thoughts? What could they do? I'm guessing there are people out there right now that have already maybe had some innovative hairstylists or hair salons that are doing things. So what could they do with this new why? Tutorials, absolutely. From Zach, I love it. So tutorials on how to do their own hair, right? Oh, I can imagine, yeah, Beta, definitely, because they're a higher company with a lot of resources that they have available to them, for sure, for sure. Online sales of products, absolutely. So if you still want to lean into the products, then you can 100% do that. Checking in on clients and keeping them updated on rescheduling and reopening plans, for sure. So trying to get them back into the space, right? One thing I would implore people is to also think about a very scary realization of what if that is a long time from now, right? How can I shift my mentality to say, what could I do now in this new landscape instead of waiting for the waiting for the normal to get back, right? I've had a lot of people during this time say, well, we'll sit and we'll wait, and when things get back to normal, then we'll hit the ground running. Right? I prefer now. And so video consultations, absolutely. What if they did video consultations on how to do an updo to get ready for a Zoom call, right? How to make sure that your nails are visible without being weird about it in a Zoom call to make you feel more confident, right? Prom and graduation, yes, absolutely. Reaching out with ideas and thoughts on that. Maybe doing a Zoom consultation. If you're so, especially as a small business, if you are so into the community one-on-one, then doing consultations one-on-one via Zoom would be a perfect avenue to go about doing that. Charge by the hour. Absolutely. So that's great, guys. So leaning into that why allows them to shift their perspective on how and what they are doing to continue to realign with it. And if you have a big team built around it, you also don't have to worry now about getting rid of a bunch of your employees for the simple fact that they don't know how to do this new stuff. Hopefully, every person that's in your salon is behind that mission, behind that idea. So when you say, hey, we're going to go to virtuals, it's not, hey, you who's a stylist, now you have to completely shift everything that's important to you. It's, hey, we are shifting the way we do things, but we're still trying to bring confidence to every person that we meet. Another company that was hit pretty hard during the .com era, to a degree, so this is a specific instance here, so hear me out, are the banks. So we provide friendly telling, easy direct deposits, and the lowest interest in town. If a bank approaches you that way, okay, great. Well, right now, it's very hard to give you friendly telling through a microphone. You can try your best, right? But that's not really what people are looking for. And in fact, how many people here, I can't see your hands, but I can imagine, have been to the bank more than 2 or 3 times in the last 2 months? And I'm talking about in a regular time frame, not maybe now that we're restricted in travel. We just don't do a lot of banking in person anymore. And so if you drive down 350, which is where one of my facilities is located, you'll notice 3 banks just on that one strip that their branches have closed. And the reason that is because people aren't going in, right? And so had they focused a little bit more on the why, so maybe, for instance, the why could be, we manage the importance of the finances for you so that you can focus on creating more wealth. Well, you can do that in a lot of different ways, and you don't have to be in person. You don't have to sit down and sign off every time. And you see a lot of the big banks doing this now, right? And so when we focus on that why and that purpose, and we allow a little bit of chaos in our life to think creatively and to open our minds to new ideas, we can start to see a lot of growth happening and a lot of changes in the way that we do what we do. And that is why your purpose, that's why your why matters so much. So guys, as we move forward, a couple things that we can do to start to take ourselves into this new future, whatever it happens to be. Every future is new, regardless of the circumstances now, because nobody knows what's happening in the future. But on a personal level and on a professional level, here are some things that you can start to do. A is to take stock of what you still have, to lean back into that order when things get chaotic. For personal, it's to make a list of things that you're grateful for. What are things that I still have? Gratitude is simply being happy with the things you currently have. That doesn't mean you can't get more, but it's understanding what you have available to you. Professional, it's leaning into those resources. What do I still have available to me? When all the chips are down, what do I still have? And how can I continue to lean into my purpose to serve that? Because if you don't know the end goal, the purpose, why you're doing it, then oftentimes those resources can just look like a pile of stuff that you don't know how to use because you're not sure where to go from here. Communicate. So making sure you're talking with yourself internally, making sure you have that internal reflection of what it is that you actually are trying to get through your present life and what you're trying to accomplish, communicating with your spouses and your loved ones, just so that you can consistently remember what you do have available and what order is in your life. Professionally, communicating with your clients is going to be huge. If you communicate with your clients via surveys, via consultations, online, social media, then they're going to feel that connection with which we are also desperately craving right now. You're also going to get a lot of feedback, and that feedback, especially in real time, especially when things are so chaotic and changing day by day by day, allows you to make changes on a regular basis towards that better future. It helps you understand how they feel so that you can lean into making sure that same connection is there. Hey, we tried this new thing online. What did you think? Oh, you didn't like it? Oh, thank you so much for your feedback. Here's how we're going to adjust accordingly. So huge to connect with them. And then to continue to try to figure out your purpose and not just your processes, right? So as a person, personally, if you know your purpose or why you're doing what you're doing, then it's going to be easier if, for the unfortunate circumstance, you lose your job and you were a bank teller for years and you lose your job. You may just come to find that the reason you were a bank teller is because you love to help people get on with their day. Well, what other jobs do you have available to you that could allow that maybe are more online based or maybe are growing right now? It could also help you excel in your current landscape. I learned more about myself and my strengths, so now I can lean into those to help my current employer to grow and to be successful, and I can grow and be successful. And professionally, if I know my purpose, then as I lean into this order, because my purpose doesn't really change, the way I'm doing it changes, but my purpose doesn't, I'm able to pivot and to grow and to adapt, just like the NBA and MLB are probably going to have to do here soon, right? So what's the purpose? If it's just to play basketball in front of millions of people in the same location, but if it's to provide entertainment, maybe they can shift a little bit. And so as we continue to lean into that purpose, then the processes can change, but the purpose remains the same. And that's literally what I do with Coaching Better, is to help people find that and then to create processes to help them go forward into a better future. So guys, that is my presentation for the day on chaos and order and leaning into your purpose. I really hope that it's bringing some value for you. I've left not enough time, but 12 minutes for questions and thoughts. And as always, I'm available and open. You'll see at Coach Lucas Woody. That's everything. That's Instagram, that's Facebook, that's Snapchat. And so if you want to reach out to me personally, you can also do that as well. But what questions, what problems do you have that I can hopefully give you some more information on? Please use that Q&A answer guide to allow you the opportunity to reach out with questions. How have I been adjusting my coaching? Great question, Kitty. So obviously a lot of virtual coaching in terms of Coaching Better. Human Movement is my other facility, Human Movement Performance and Rehabilitation. We've adjusted quite a bit onto online platforms. We've also leaned a lot more into consultations. We offer consultations on a regular basis anyways, but we've leaned more into those to give people the opportunity to be a little bit more connected. So that's what we've been doing a lot of. It's just, that's also a great place for us to get feedback from people, to consistently adapt. So it kind of serves multiple purposes, but leaned a lot into creating those connections and then doing things to allow people to create community. So we've actually empowered some of our members to do things like host online gaming nights and to do community chats and things like that, so that they can still create that community, because that's one of our foundations at Human Movement, is the community. The online fitness world is buzzing and blowing up. We feel as though people are a little bit more apt to work out together when they're accountable and motivated and have a connection with people. So we've been doing a lot of things to build that community. Bree asks, how do you motivate yourself? Let me know if that answered your question, Kitty. Bree asks, how do you motivate yourself to do activities you need to do but don't want to do? There are a lot of things that I need to do but that I don't want to do. And there's a fine balance between forcing yourself into those things that you need to do, and understanding when they're not what you need to do. One of the biggest things that has helped me, two big things. One is finding my purpose. So Simon Sinek wrote a book, Start With Why, and then a subsequent book, Find Your Why, which actually helps you as an individual to find your purpose in life and to articulate it even more. And so that was very helpful. I also have leaned heavily into my Clifton strengths, or Strength Finders 2.0, to start to realize what I really am good at. Sometimes it's nice to know whether or not, are you being lazy? Are you not good at it? Is it worth putting more time into? Or maybe that's just not something that's in your strong suit. It never will be, and you're not going to enjoy it. So why not, with all the resources we have available to us, find something else that somebody else that's great at it and let them run with it, right? They don't have to be an employee. There are tons of resources out there to kind of push out jobs and to get consultants to help you out, or to kind of farm out different issues that you may have. And so it's understanding what you're good at and then putting the energy into that and not allowing the other stuff to suck you in, right? Sometimes there's responsibilities you have to take control of, but if it's really just going to drain you and it's not going to help you, it's not going to help serve the people that you want to serve, right? Because ultimately it's about trying to give value to your clients, then you're not going to get much out of that. So sometimes it's helpful to just find others who can do it well. So hopefully that answered your question, Bree. Let me know. Hillary in the chat asked, what are some tools that you recommended for finding our personal purpose or getting to know what drives us? So those are a couple that I just mentioned there. Definitely Start With Why and Find Your Why by Simon Sinek. Wonderful books. I give them out all the time. I work with high schoolers a lot. I work with college-age kids a lot. We have internship programs. We also have internship programs with graphic design, with fitness and health and kinesiology. And so those kids, one of my biggest goals is to help them find their purpose. So that's a wonderful thing. I would be remiss to say that Coaching Better, if I didn't say Coaching Better, because that's literally what we do, is help people find their purpose and then help them pursue it and find the ways to do so, whether that's individually as a business. And then getting to know what drives you. I think the strengths is great. There's a lot of kind of personality tools out there. Clifton Strengths is wonderful in that it tells you what you're good at. And when you're good at it, you typically lean into it more. So on the screen there, you'll see my 5 strengths are activator, futuristic, ideation, strategic, and woo. So I love to get stuff done. I like to get things started. I love thinking about the future and having new thoughtful ways of creating that through ideation. And then I love to create strategies. So I mean, what better way to do that than how I'm doing it now? And I get super pumped about it. And so that really helped me. But if I didn't know that, kind of back to Bree's question, I may try to push myself to be the guy that checks off the lists and gets the things done. And I'm just not that guy. And some people may look at that and think, well, that's kind of lazy. You got to get your stuff done. But really, it's not leaning into my strengths. And if I can create processes and strategies for other people to find their why and to help lean into that, then I'm going to serve the world so much better and bring more value than if I were to just try to do the checklist kind of thing. So hopefully that helps, Hillary. Let me know. I'd be happy to give you more information too offline. Zach asks, how do you find the confidence to start a business in these trying times? Oh yeah, that's a great one. For me, it was helpful to understand my strengths and to understand my purpose, because that allowed me to realize that what I was going to do was going to serve me 30 years from now, when everything had calmed down, got worse again, calmed down, got worse again, right? You kind of see the mountain in our symbol and our logo there. That's kind of that ebbing and flowing. It's getting better, it slows down, it gets better, it slows down. And so it helped to know my purpose and my strengths, so that I knew that I was doing the right thing. I didn't have to question that too much. Also, I started a business with a very low overhead. I mean, we are consulting, so we don't have a lot of huge overhead costs, so that's helpful. But knowing that I could see the end in sight and I had small tangible goals to get there, and I never outgrew anything that I wanted to do. And that's the same for my other 2 businesses as well, is we started in a way that we could serve people with a purpose in the right way without growing too large, and we can make it sustainable. I am a firm believer in the infinite game as opposed to the finite game, which is something Simon Sinek talks a lot about too. But I created business to continue to bring value, not to bring me value. And as a result, I'm able to grow them because it's always constantly about helping others grow, and it's sustainable in that way. It's not for the quarterly profit, it's for the purpose behind it. And that can change drastically over time, but as far as the quarterly profit, and the size of the business, but the purpose is going to remain the same, and how I fulfill that may change. But hopefully that answers your question, Zach. Kitty asked, what new activities do you think you'll adopt if in your new normal? That's a really good question. One of the first things is this new, in this new normal we have right now anyways, through this period, there are a lot of people right now who are going through a struggle of, there's this thing that's preventing me from doing it the way I used to, and they are so caught up in the how they used to do it because they're so focused on the what's and the hows that they're not willing to take a step back and ask themselves, why did we start it? There's actually a newspaper in my old hometown that closed, and they were so frustrated they sent out a letter to everybody about, like, this is why you should support your local news sources and things like that. And what I was so frustrated with is that their newspaper never changed. They never adapted, they never grew, they never went online. And so if they were focused more on their why, to create community throughout the area of Indiana, to build themselves around information, then they could have done that in a variety of ways, but they chose to hang on and remain the same, and so they had to close. And so it just kind of hurt me a little bit that they were blaming others for that when it was their fault for not adapting and growing. And so I want to help people in this new normal to figure that out. And so it kind of maybe didn't change. It definitely didn't change why I do it. It just changed kind of how I'm focusing a lot right now on helping businesses to figure that out so that they can grow in the direction they want to grow. Because right now they're like, well, why should I even try if they're just not, we don't know what's going to happen. Well, if you're focusing on your why and you can figure out sustainable ways to do that, then it doesn't matter. You can continue to grow in every landscape. So Rebecca, hopefully that answered your question, Kitty. Great question. Rebecca asked, how am I so cheerful? Lots and lots of coffee. No, just a little bit of coffee. I can't tell you guys enough how excited I am for this opportunity, because it allows me to live the life that I want to live. I live to help people figure out problems that can help them live their futuristic lifestyle, right? I mean, you look at those strengths. I want to create a better future by acting on ideas and creating strategies around it. And woo is winning others over. I'm a hoot to be around, I think anyways. Some people have told me, but maybe not everybody. But so that's how I'm so cheerful, because I love what I do. And I found my purpose, and so I'm pursuing it daily. So I can't implore to people enough how important that is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lucas, for everything, for reaching out. I'm sorry, for teaching us how to repurpose our purpose. It was really great to take a step back and kind of see the bigger picture, especially, you know, with the anxiety of the current climate of the world.
Sure.
We do have one last poll to launch for everyone. Just get a little bit of feedback. If you guys can go ahead and answer that for me. And while you're doing that, just a few reminders for Tippy Connect. Our next webinar is next Tuesday at noon, and we'll be learning about how to purchase or sell a home with Lindsay Dunno, Jason Everett, and Dane Harper. Even if you don't think you'll be purchasing or selling your home in the near future, it's great information to have for when you're ready, so you're not scrambling to get all of those puzzle pieces together right at the last minute. You're an informed consumer. Last reminder, Tippy Connect's top 10 under 40 nominations form is now open. So if you know a young professional living or working in the greater Lafayette area deserving of this award, don't hesitate to nominate them. The links for both of these will be in our follow-up email. Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to rewatch the webinar, visit our website at www.tippyconnect.com and click events. Everyone have a fantastic Tuesday, and thanks for coming.
Thanks, everybody.